This opening does a nice job immediately catching the audience up on the Guardians after Endgame, and it's with limited dialogue. Peter is passed out from drinking, and there was hints that he's done this before.
Again?
And for any new viewer that is unfamiliar, they would just assume that Peter is probably an alcoholic. But for all the Marvel fans that have seen Endgame, it's a good way of letting the audience know how Peter has been handling himself since Gamora died. This is a nice fight showing off Warlock's power compared to the Guardians.
You knew of 89P13's existence for years without alerting me. That's not what I require!
The Sovereign had no reason not to tell the High Evolutionary about Rocket still being alive. Especially after what happened in the last movie and the Sovereign trying to hunt him down.
We've got a Sovereign fleet approaching from the rear.
Why would they do that?
Probably because Rocket stole some of their batteries.
Dude!
Right.
Well, what I'm trying to say is...
Peter, you know this is an open line, right?
What?
We're listening to everything you're saying.
Okay, it's time to look at the actors and the acting. And they would definitely go in the good category. James Gunn does a nice job continuing the stories of the characters from the previous movies. Chris Pratt is still entertaining as Peter Quill, and the movie does a nice job showing how losing Gamora has impacted him. From the drinking in the beginning, to the dialogue of him saying a Rocket getting hurt was his fault.
I hadn't been drinking. Maybe Rocket... I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Bradley Cooper is also still good as Rocket Raccoon, even though he's in the bed for most of the movie. And the film does a nice job going over his backstory and displaying how he came to be. The movie also does well continuing Gamora's story by having her join the Ravagers, something that isn't far-fetched thanks to her being raised by Thanos. And the other Guardians continue to be great as well. And when it comes to Chakotay Awuji as High Evolutionary, he ends up being great in the role. And the movie does a nice job explaining his purpose as the movie goes along, giving his character great development throughout the film. So with that, the movie earns a 5 out of 5 for actors and acting.
Excuse my friend, he's the boss's nephew. He's a little...
Yeah, I got one of those too.
This works.
Let's kill that one that looks like a carrot to show we mean business.
Someday, I'm gonna make great machines that fly, and me and my friends are gonna go flying together.
Have I given a point to these flashbacks yet for how cute they are? Okay, I think it's time to look at the music and the score of the movie. The music and the score of the movie will go in the good category. Just like the previous two movies, James Gunn does a nice job creating an authentic sound design and including some nice music that goes in harmony with the story. So with that, the movie earns a 5 out of 5 for music and score.
Sky.
I wish they would have just continued this flashback with the last one, a Rocket, instead of splitting it up and showing the second part at this moment. It doesn't help with the consistent tone as the movie goes from Rocket feeling disappointed to jokes on Counter-Earth.
There's a button under the handle. Press that in.
Now what?
Open the door.
Instead of the movie capitalizing on the tone of the flashbacks and continuing it. Okay, it's time to look at the editing.
I don't care.
The editing of the movie would go in the good category. James Gunn does a good job conveying the movie's tone without forcing in too many unnecessary jokes, when much of the movie is supposed to be sad, but at the same time still making the movie entertaining. The visual effects throughout the movie is one of the best in Marvel Phase 4 as they blend seamlessly throughout the movie. The visual effects enhance the visuals in this movie and not take away from them in a way that discredits the movie, unlike some other Marvel Phase 4 films. So with that, the movie earns a 5 out of 5 for editing.
What do you have in your hat?
They just let Groot throw this grenade and don't try to shoot him. I mean, this is cute, but I've seen this scenario of the hero talking to someone that died and them telling the hero they still have a purpose, which causes them to come back alive. And I mean, at this point, it's cliche.
One of them holds subject 89P13.
Release the hellspawn, all of them.
Damn it, I wish the ending was the High Evolutionary versus the Guardians and them working together to take them down instead of another CGI battle. Okay, it's time to look at the directing and the cinematography. The directing and cinematography would go in the good category. James Gunn does a great job displaying each frame and using it to control the narrative throughout the movie. The cinematography is utilized well also, as the movie includes creative camera work that helps tell the story in a way that is entertaining for the audience. Also, the nice use of lighting throughout the film further highlights how well the directing and cinematography is throughout the movie. So with that, the movie earns a 5 out of 5 for directing and cinematography.
You must stop, for God's sake!
There is no God! That's why I stepped in!
Yes.
I am taking command of the Arete. Retreat.
This once again shows why he should be the only one to get Rocket. He's more powerful than all of them.
The name's Rocket. Rocket Raccoon.
Okay, it's time to talk about the genre of the movie, which is the action. The action in the movie is good for the most part, as the movie displays some entertaining action throughout. The only thing that hinders the action a little is the long-running jokes that delay much of the action, and the fact that this final fight between the Guardians and the High Evolutionary could have been longer. But nevertheless, the action is good in the movie. So with that, the movie earns a 4 out of 5 for action. Honestly, I'm sick of the near-death fake-outs. Either you're gonna kill off someone or you're not. And to add insult to injury, this is basically the same scene from the first Guardians movie. Okay, it's time to look at the plot and the story. Even though the plot and the story isn't perfect, it's still really good and will go in the good category. The movie does a great job going through the origin story of Rocket and introducing the High Evolutionary to the MCU, while also continuing the stories of the other characters in the movie. The only thing that hinders the plot and the story is the High Evolutionary constantly using his creations to get Rocket when he could have did it himself, especially since he wanted him so bad. Nevertheless, the plot and the story is still good though. So with that, the movie earns a 4 out of 5 for plot and story. Okay, so now that we have all the numbers, it's time to add them up. So in the end, Guardians of the Galaxy Vol.3 ends up with a 4.7 out of 5, and that gives it an A rating.